it's those connections that I'm really finding, like if you search hard enough and get through the weeds of analytics and really start to look at your comments and your connections that you're making, that's why we're doing it, right? Is that human connection and how deep it can really, really be.
Welcome to Elevate the Podcast, a storytelling and business podcast where we interview and mastermind entrepreneurs in the agricultural, Western, and rural space.
On Elevate, we deep dive entrepreneur stories and share the problems they encountered and opportunities they created as a way to educate, inspire, and encourage the dreamer inside us all. We mastermind business ideas and deep dive topics to deliver tangible advice, useful tools, and bold strategies that we as entrepreneurs can implement to drive our own businesses forward.
Created by agriculture for agriculture, Elevate opens the doors for rural, Western, and agricultural entrepreneurs so they can elevate themselves, their businesses, and the lifestyles we all love. We are your hosts, Tara Vanderdusen
And Natalie Kavarik.
And today on the show, we have Sandi Brock, the woman behind Sheepishly Me brand, business and behind the screen. Sandi is a wife, a mother, and a Canadian sheep and grain farmer. In 2012, she and her husband Mark ventured down an unplanned path when they decided to step away from farming with extended family so that they could instead make time and space to start a new adventure of building their very own sheep farm. Fast forward 5 years, and Sandi found herself yet again venturing down another unplanned path when she decided to pick up the camera and start sharing her very raw and real journey as a new and inexperienced sheep farmer on YouTube for all the world to see.
For many of us, the struggle and uncomfort that comes with starting something new is enough to prevent us from ever trying in the first place. There is a misnomer that it is the big, scary things that stop us from chasing our dreams, but oftentimes, looking back, we can see that it was the first, small step that required the most bravery. This was the case for Sandi Brock, sheep farmer and YouTube extraordinaire. The year was 2016, and at her time, her channel didn't boast the current 547,000 followers that it does now. At the time, Sandi's on-screen presence didn't even exist, and her off-screen, she was feeling something most rural dwellers experience: loneliness. It was this loneliness, that desire and longing for community, that inspired Sandi to pick up a lens and try and create her own through online vlogging. Despite going on to have massive success as an online YouTuber, Sandi's story wasn't always a success. In fact, Sandi quit before she even started.
Yeah, funny enough, people tuning in now look at where I'm at and think they don't realize that I started at zero. I actually probably started in the negative range. In 2016, I was trying my hand at Snapchat quite a bit. And just sharing my story with a very small community of just fellow sheep farmers and friends. And from there, I just had enough people asking, we want this in longer form. Like they just were asking the same questions. And I'm like, I watch my kids, and their main source of information has always been YouTube. And I was like, how do I even have what it takes to do this YouTube thing? I didn't know anything about YouTube, ironically. Same with sheep farming. And I talked to a couple people, and they said, you really should do it. Just start. And I still didn't. I didn't know enough about it. I was not confident, but I picked up the camera anyway, and I started filming. I probably filmed, I don't even know how many videos, and I never pressed publish. I couldn't do it. I could barely get through the editing. I barely knew how to even upload, like even get a YouTube channel into existence. I was not good on a computer. I was barely just qualified to run my phone on a good day. So yeah, it took me, even though it says I started in 2017, I probably started early 2016. It just took me a year to build up the bravado to press publish, which is everybody's first worst day.
So what were those months or weeks like leading up to when you finally hit publish in 2017?
Well, to be honest, I didn't really know I was going to press publish probably up until I took it probably very seriously about a month before I finally did. So that would have been early April, late March of 2017. And I was into a lambing period. And I was very, very comfortable doing short form video content over on Snapchat. Instagram didn't have stories. That's how long ago I started this at this point. So I basically kind of copied what I did there and just made it a little bit long form, a little more detailed. and threw it on to YouTube. And I basically filmed that whole lambing journey, probably about 9 or 10 videos, and kept them on. I didn't keep them on private. They were there, but I didn't tell anybody about the channel until I was on about my 10th video. And then I was brave enough and had a few people in my corner that could promote it too. And I sent it privately to a few people just to get their, critiques, people that I trusted. To say I was confident is a lie, but I just felt like it was the right time. I felt a little more prepared, I guess you could say.
Were those people you sent it to? And I'm curious also if they were the same people you had talked to originally when you said I had reached out to a couple people and they'd encouraged me. Were those like mentors for you that were doing what you were doing? Or were they just like, like your friend or your husband, just people within your circle?
Well, surprisingly, it was the one is everybody probably knows of Rob Sharkey. He was just a friend I had been able to, I listened to his podcast kind of religiously up to that point. So he had already kind of broke out of the gate of social media, and we had talked a little bit, I can't remember, it was through Snapchat. And he was kind of the first one that said, have you ever thought of YouTube? And then when I started thinking about YouTube, I actually got in contact with Cody Creelman, who is a vet from Alberta, Canada. And he was the one that said, you have to do this, just press start. So it's funny, they were people that inspired me. I did not know them at all personally, but I had consumed their content. So, but the people that I gave those first videos to, I don't think it was them, because I think I was a little bit too intimidated to send it to people like that. I sent it to my close friend, Amy, and then I had a few other people kind of in the social media. They knew a little bit more about social media. And I knew that they would critique based on, what I was looking for. So they were friends, definitely, but I would say peers, more like in the peer friend range, not my close, just friends that I would have coffee with.
And what were their critiques? What did they say?
Oh man, Natalie, you're really pushing the memory. Dude, I don't remember what I had for breakfast this morning.
It wasn't discouraging though. It was like,
no, not at
you're
all.
onto something.
Not at all. The one, my friend Kristen said, your audio's a bit off. She goes, work on your audio. And that still is the biggest tip for any new YouTuber, is audio is everything. Same with podcasting. So that really stuck with my head. I did a lot more chopping and editing if my audio was off. So there's been a lot left on the cutting room floor because of bad audio. And the other one was just people really just encouraged me. Like they just gave me that, just do it. They're going to be cringy for a while. So they were all very encouraging and supportive.
So you say we're dealing with some bad audio. What were you like filming with when you started? What were you using? Like, what did those first, videos like look like, feel like, as far as the technical side of things?
Sure. I mean, anyone can Google Sandi Brock vlog one. It pops right up. Very grainy. It was done with my iPhone 6, my old iPhone. So I was using an iPhone and I just had a spare one with like my battery would only last like half a day. And I did everything on that iPhone. I filmed the videos and I actually edited on that iPhone. I think maybe you, Natalie, didn't you edit on an iPhone for a while too?
Yes, you're like bringing back actually like triggers for me.
Yeah, it's totally, it's traumatizing.
It's funny that we were able to do. I don't know how. I mean, I kind of stepped away from YouTube now, so there's absolutely no way I could ever do it. But when I was still kind of doing it and thinking about editing on phone like I did, I just don't know what we were doing.
No, it's bad. But you have to start somewhere, and I didn't have an iMac. Like I didn't have a Mac. I didn't have what I have now. I mean, the first MacBook I got was a friend had wanted to buy a new one, so she sold me her old one. I never did really get good working equipment until probably about 2 years ago.
When we come back, how Sandi found her stride online to start propelling her channel forward. Hi friends, Tara here. I wanted to talk with you today about your Instagram presence. Nowadays, no matter what your business is, you can pretty much consider Instagram a mandatory social media platform for marketers. But your presence on the gram won't make a difference unless you make it impactful and have a clear visual and verbal identity that generates leads, spreads brand awareness, builds social proof, and increases engagement. Unsure of how to do that? Let us help you. Right now, if you go to our website, elevateyouragstory.com, and sign up for our email list, you will get a handcrafted how to audit your Instagram from Natalie and I. This tool is a downloadable PDF that we created that will walk you through how to build an online presence that will lay a solid foundation for a successful brand and business. That's elevateyouragstory.com. Look for the pop-up and let us help you showcase yourself, your brand, and your message in a way that will convert followers into an engaged community and paying clients.
You talk a lot about you had those, 10 videos and then you shared them with friends. How long did it take before you shared them, like putting strategy behind them to share maybe on like your Instagram or like using Snapchat to refer to it? When did you really, what was what did that timeline look like between I uploaded videos and now I'm going to do this seriously?
So right off the bat, like, because I didn't know anything about this platform, and really I had no followers anywhere. I had probably my biggest audience was maybe Twitter, and even at that, very maybe 1,000. Like, not, I didn't have an audience anywhere. So YouTube really was kind of a, like, even Snapchat, I might have had 500 people. So to share it to other platforms it didn't really do me any good. I mean, it helped a little bit, but it was flat. Like, there wasn't a lot of growth there. And really the only people curious is if I collaborated. Like, my friend Amy was huge on my channel because she was the one that had a presence basically on Twitter for the most part. She had a bit of an Instagram following too. So when I had her on my 9th or 10th video, I mean, that's what drew the biggest first surge to the channel. And also, so ironically, that's not until I had her on the channel, I didn't share it because I was like, well, I know people will come if she's with me. And it was a little bit of just confidence, just having someone with me to go through that whole thing too. So the shareability was not great when I started in 2017. Every platform is very, very greedy. So if I threw my YouTube link in on Twitter or my YouTube link on Facebook to share it with friends and family, your stuff doesn't get pushed. So it was maybe a year. I bet you it was easily a year after I started. And I was starting to build kind of more of an Instagram following that I would try to share it on Instagram. But even at that point, you don't have the things that Instagram can let you do now versus when I started. Like, we didn't have links. So I would have to actually shorten up videos, make raw footage, upload them to all my platforms as its own little video, and then say, for more, go check out this video. And no one did. So it was a slow, very organic growth, like painfully slow. Most people would have quit, but I'm a sheep farmer. I'm strange, very stubborn, very
So
stubborn.
I kind of know that about you, about how long and how hard you work behind the scenes, editing and analyzing and all that. And so I have so much admiration for it. And I don't think a lot of people know the back end of what you've done. But I want to go back to that video you said your friend Amy was in. That was kind of your first little bump. What was that video? What did the momentum look like for you after that? Like, can you give me kind of the just story around what was in that video and then what happened, for a few months afterwards, or how that projected you forward?
Sure. And I mean, when I say projected, I mean, I went from like 60 views to 250. So that was huge. But if you think of like what that means, that's, you've tripled your viewing, right? So literally it was a Q&A, which Q&As on YouTube, if anyone knows anything about them at all, they're dead ones. They're not great. But we were in a car, and it was something that was very natural to us. We're just driving somewhere and had the camera rolling, and we were being just our natural, normal selves. And I think just a lot of people, we didn't take ourselves very seriously. And I think the audience really related to that. And I just think that became kind of not a monthly thing, but maybe every few months we get together, and it evolved into what we called truck truths. So we would go in her pickup truck, every so often. We go out for lunch, and then we probably had a drink of wine at lunch, and then came out, turned on the camera, and we just talked for whatever. We had no plan, we had no script, and we just talked. And then it just always turned into something magical. And I was able to share it. And really, I think that's the first time women joined the channel, because it was two women just talking about the struggles of whatever we were going through that day, whether it would be something on the farm or something with our kids or just anything, just us as humans. So it was a real human connection there, and I think the big boost was more of a female audience coming to join the channel, which was great.
So, in those first, like, I don't know, year, what would you say were some of the pitfalls and challenges you encountered while you were filming? Is there any specific days that you were like, I want to give this up? Like, I mean, you right from the beginning, you definitely wanted to, but did that continue? Like, did that self doubt kind of continue, or you were like, I'm on to something? Like, where were you at?
Oh, I don't know where the self drive came from. I think it's maybe a bit addicting. I probably have some addictive tendencies, not always in a bad sense, but I wanted to give up a lot because it's hard. It's not easy to get those boosts if you don't know a lot of people. And I think what kept me going was my viewership. The comments from the people that I had connected with, it was a deep connection because they showed up every single video. And it was really them that kept me going because they would give me ideas for the next video, or they would give me, I stole this from Cody Creelman. I think it was him that said, sometimes your audience gives you oxygen when you're like flatlining, like you just don't have anything more to give, or you just feel so depleted that or deflated that it just takes that one comment that really just lifts you up by your bootstraps, and you get back up and you just do another video. So I think that's what kept me going, was just knowing there was something there. And I think, I don't know, I don't know what it was. Not a premonition. It just, I felt it in my bones that this was something.
So you worked hard. You said, you're plugging away, you're putting out content. It's a slow grind. And it finally happens. You hit monetization. It was right around 70 videos, right?
Yes. 70 videos.
So talk about that moment for us.
Sure. I'll backtrack a little bit because I actually hit monetization. YouTube used to be 500 subscribers, and I hit 500 subscribers, I think 6 months or 8 months after I had started, and I was so happy. And then there was a big YouTube controversy with a pretty big YouTuber named Logan Paul at the time, and YouTube, I think it was called the Adpocalypse, and they changed all the rules. It went from 500 subscribers to 1,000. So once again, Sandi had a big piece of humble pie. Literally the day I got the notification that I had made monetization, I got an email right after saying, "Oh, by the way, this isn't going to happen till you hit 1,000."
Oh my gosh.
Like,
I did not know that.
Like, honestly, the stuff that I was handed, most people would be like, this is so not worth it. And I still kept going like a fool. So it took me a year to hit 1,000. Bless Jack, my kid, my little monkey. He's a big gamer. And I think he had like 5 different Google Gmail accounts or something. And he was number 996, 97, 98, 99, and 1,000.
Oh, I
my
love
gosh.
that.
He's like, I am not subscribing to your channel until you're worth it, basically. And so he gave me his last vote of confidence when I almost made 1,000. So yeah, so that was a year later. And just to tell people that, if they're upset they haven't made it in a month, here's my number. It's not that easy. It's easier if you know somebody in the space, for sure. And yeah, so that's kind of how my journey began. And then even after that, after I got monetized, I was too scared to put ads on my videos because I'm like, I worked so hard to get here. I am not putting ads on my videos and then losing all my subscribers. So it's ridiculous how much worth we put on these vanity metrics, which are followers and subscribers, when at the end of the day, I should have been putting ads on the videos, because if YouTube makes money, guess what they're going to do? They're going to actually push out your videos. And it took me a year of research and figuring this all out to realize that. And the day that I basically said, okay, YouTube, you can be in charge of my ad placements, my videos then just kind of took off.
So on that note, what was like the big exciting, do you have some big exciting moments, or when things really took off after that then, like when you started placing ads, and what was that like for you?
Well, to be honest, they started to take off before that. So that's why I took so long to do it, because I'm like, no, they're doing it on their own. It's just slower. But you know what? The good thing about it is my videos started taking off in my second or third year of a lambing group. And I mean, that's how the whole channel started, is like sharing this lambing journey, because lambing is where I learn so much about myself and about persistence and about not giving up and about shit can hit the fan very quickly and the preparedness and all the things. So I was so glad that when the videos did start to finally kind of create momentum, it was the lambing sessions that caused the awareness of the channel. And I was so happy about it because it's so universal. Kids like it, grandparents like it, grandparents like watching it with their grandkids, women like it, men like it. So it was just such a beautiful fit to what I was trying to do, which was to create human connection. So I was pumped that the videos that started to really take off were the lambing ones for sure.
And can you talk about, because I know when you're in lambing, you do, well, and you do it around Christmas too, but you do like daily vlogging.
Yep, that was kind of how I started. I was kind of taking footage every day because every day there's just so much content. So it's crazy to not pick up a camera, even if I don't get it uploaded every day, to not take footage because like nature is amazing and beautiful and they give you all these precious moments that if I just left the camera in the house because I already did a video that day, it's like it's selfish. It's selfish to me to not have those memories, and it's selfish to an audience that they just thrive for that stuff. So I decided to just do daily lambing vlogs, which is so hard to do because you're so tired. But to do it every day when it's fresh in your brain was easier for me to edit than like 3 or 4 weeks later when all my camera cards are full and I don't remember one day to the next day and I get it screwed up. So I just forced myself to do a video every single day. And in doing that, you get so much quicker at editing and at getting to the point and at taking footage faster. And yeah, it's just practice. The more videos you do, the better at the whole practice you get. And every video you do is another chance of that one video finally hitting it and going viral or whatever you consider a successful video.
So let's spend a second here talking about you, though, behind the screen. So talking about the daily vlogging and up at this point, putting out all of the content you've mentioned before that you referencing, studying and analyzing. Like, let's take a second to talk about the back end of what it looks like to be a YouTuber. Not what people are seeing through the video, but the behind the screen stuff. I feel like that's one of the things I admire most about you is that hard work I know you put in behind the screen.
Hard work and a little bit of stubbornness because some of these things could get farmed out. And I realize that. I think what I told you, Nat, and I've told you before, is for every hour I put into editing, I've probably put an equal amount of time into researching the craft, figuring out how to edit better, figuring out how to understand YouTube better and analytics better, and keeping up with what YouTube desires of its content creators, because that's part of staying relevant and staying, on the treadmill, so to speak, is to do the research. Even before that, if you aren't consuming YouTube just as a viewer, I question why you want to put your stuff on YouTube, because you can learn so much from how others use the space. And so for the day I started basically creating content, I actually started consuming as much as I started creating on YouTube, mostly on tutorials and learning how to do stuff, but also following people that popped into my feed and I just developed this real connection with. And that side of it, that emotional side, is what I really have started to really hone in on and go, why do I watch these YouTubers? Why are they so important in my life? My daughter has watched YouTube her whole life, basically. And one of her YouTubers that she's followed religiously, she's a Canadian van life, her and her fiance, and she just got diagnosed with breast cancer. And my daughter, who has had a health scare not too long ago, was going through her own thing at the same time. And they came out with this video about a month ago. And I met her at the top of the stairs and she was bawling. I'm like, what is going on? And she got me to watch this video. And of course, I haven't stopped watching these videos since, because she's documenting being diagnosed and going through IVF, and she's young and she's dealing with the scary stuff. And you get so invested. And I'm like, that's what we all, and unfortunately it's because of health, but it's those connections that I'm really finding, like if you search hard enough and get through the weeds of analytics and really start to look at your comments and your connections that you're making, that's why we're doing it, right? Is that human connection and how deep it can really, really be. So yeah, I spend a lot of time consuming and a hell of a lot of time creating, and so much time editing and playing with thumbnails and looking at analytics, seeing, you know, what's my retention, how long are people watching, what are the points of a video that they really like, and yeah, so lots of behind the scenes stuff, hours and hours. I don't have much of a personal life, I think, because of it, which I do regret a bit.
So can we keep going with the time thing? Where's your kids and your husband in with that? Are they like frustrated? Are they annoyed? Are they talking about boundaries? Are they telling you to take a camera off? Like what does that look like for you?
So, since I've started, I've really honed in on it being my story. So, the family, I take clips of once in a while, and only if I had their blessing. I would say at the very beginning, there was a lot. The kids were young, and they were like, "This is our thing. We don't want you here." It's kind of like your mom joining Facebook, right? It's like, "Well, are you going to ruin that?" Or and then when then they join Instagram, it's like, "Oh my God, we have no space for ourselves." And so I would say they were in high school. That's a pretty cringy place for your mom to be as a YouTuber. Thankfully, they were at a pretty rural school, so what I was doing kind of fit that, so it was okay. But the husband part, yeah, it was one of those things I really kept not secret, but I really did try to do it before and after hours so as to never have anyone say, you shouldn't be doing that, you should be working. Because at that point, it was making me no money. And that's a real hard thing to do if you're not generating income from it, because it takes time, it takes energy, it takes, you know, there's a lot of mental taxing on that whole thing. But as for boundaries, they never ever told me not to do it. And although the support maybe came a little bit later after I started kind of proving myself, they also didn't tell me I couldn't do it. And they also eventually looked back and said, we're so proud that you did this for yourself and that you didn't lean on us for help. Because they're all tech wizards. I never asked them, right? I mean, I cried to them, but for the most part, they made me figure it out all on my own. So grateful for that.
So pivoting a little bit back to what you said on the business, you weren't making money. I mean, when was it that you started kind of making money and being like, this is a real business? Like how many videos had you filmed? Had you had some viral videos? Like when were you like, this is a business?
Oh, I'm trying to think of when that actually happened. 2020 is when I've really kind of fully turned the switch on and said, I'm going to let YouTube monetize my videos. I'm just going to deal with the hate that comes with having ads on my channel, which FYI, out of 1,000 comments, you might have one saying, holy cow with the ads. So that was a big wake up call going, why didn't I do this earlier? But I guess that's when the switch happened, when I was like, oh my God, like why, like Google, I get a paycheck from Google every month, which was just shocking for that first year. So 2020, I would say, was that big first like aha moment of, wow, this is actually a business. And it's deserving to be a business for how many hours actually goes in it. You should be making money for what you're doing if you're creating content. It's a hell of a lot of work, and that's just creating the content. That's not the hours of, you know, taking the footage and answering comments and repurposing your stuff and putting it on all the other platforms. And like the amount of time it takes is ridiculous. And then I would say 2020, end of 2020, I finally launched a website, which is something I swore I was never going to do. I was never going to go into sales. I don't like it. I'm not comfortable. It's way out of my wheelhouse. I didn't want it to feel like that's why I was doing this. And I had imposter syndrome. I had all the things. So I wasn't going to do it. So again, just like the YouTube channel, I probably started down that road for about a year. And then I finally worked with a beautiful woman, Christina, who helped me design the website. And with her coaching and her support, we launched it November of 2020, I believe, with our first launch, and it was so well received, and so that became kind of a new creative outlet, actually, as it turns out. And fast forward in 2022, I've been able to collaborate with a local Ontario wool mill. And now I've been able to actually turn my wool, which was worth nothing, like I was literally a byproduct, I've been able to make them into really beautiful products based on the farm and the stories and the characters, and listen to what my viewers and my audience has been asking for, and what they've literally curated this wool side of my business, and I couldn't be happier about it. And if I didn't have the website, I wouldn't have a way to do all this stuff. So sometimes you just have to get out of your comfort zone, do the thing you don't want to do, and it's can really open up some huge opportunities for you that you didn't even know you wanted.
I know I have a lovely present hanging in my office that you sent me that's your wool. It's been really fun to see all of this stuff that you've been rolling out for that. So I want to talk about a huge moment in a lot of YouTubers' lives is when they hit that 100K and they get that present in the mail. Can you talk about what that was like for you?
Yeah. First of all, it came a little bit later because once again, Sandy didn't know what she was doing. I thought they just sent it to you. I had no idea you actually had to like apply for it. So yeah, I got my little silver plaque, my silver play button, about 6 months after I had hit the 100K milestone. That 100K milestone was so emotional just because there'd been so much leading up to that moment that I know my audience had witnessed. So it's funny, like you get it and you think you can share it with your family and your friends, but they don't care. The people that care are the people that were on the journey with you. So the people I really wanted to share it with were the people on the other side of the screen. And it's such a surreal thing. It's a weird thing. And I remember feeling, as much as I was amazed and so thankful, I was again feeling very lonely and isolated, because it's like, who do I share this with? Because my friends don't give two flying, what's about YouTube. Like my friends in real life, they're happy for me, but they don't get what it means, right? Whereas the viewer, again, are so involved in it that they become the people you really want to share the news with.
So if I'm right, that was the summer of 2020, right? Or spring or
I think I hit 100K in January of 2020. I got the plaque in like June.
okay. I was gonna say, I actually remember being out at pasture and seeing that you got it. So I knew
Yeah.
that it was like warm weather. I was like, I know I was out at summer pasture.
Yeah, you're right.
So that would have been 3 years into sharing, right?
Yes.
Okay.
3 years.
3 years, we hit the milestone. Talk about, because now you're trucking towards 1 million. You're over 500,000. You're close to 600. Basically, what happened in 2021 then? That was a big year for you too, right?
2021, I had a couple videos finally really go viral. I have to say, yeah, they help with your subs, but if you really, no one talks about their viral videos. This is what drives me crazy. So I'm an open book, pretty much. Your viral videos, if you go in your analytics, they suck because people only click on that 30-second piece that they might have saw in your thumbnail that they think is intriguing. So that might be an abscess, or it might be, I don't know, whatever else that might go viral. I think, I had one with a third horn or something, and I think I called it rhino sheep. So people click on that for the 45 seconds. So then your video, it's good, and it gets your channel noticed, which is great. And if they sub just from that, amazing, great. But you also get so much negativity because they have no idea who you are. They will not look at the 500 other videos that you have. They will only judge you based on 30 seconds of a video. So context on every video is so important if your goal is for one to go viral. So I had a few go viral, but the biggest thing in 2021 that I really honed in on was YouTube Shorts. So that's short form content. They're basically the same stuff that I repurpose. I have hours and hours of footage and content that I make 20-minute videos on, but not everybody has 20 minutes. Not everybody cares about 20 minutes. So I've been able to repurpose a lot of my footage that I already have into Reels and TikToks. And I'm like, well, why don't I throw them in a short as well? Again, fearful of my life to do it because I knew my subs would be really mad because they're like, you're not filming this right. Why is this vertical on my desktop? And I'm like, so you have to get over it. And I started doing YouTube Shorts basically when it was in beta. So before it was like available on your phone and all these things. And I'm glad I did that because by the time Shorts took off, I had a library. So I had a couple that really did well in TikTok and Reels. So I'm like, of course they did pretty good on YouTube Shorts. And then what that does is take all your library with it. So that was very strategic. That was very planned out. And I'm glad I did it because I got a lot of new eyes to the channel. But again, it helps with your subs. But the people that watch your long form content are still your OGs. Very, very rarely are the ones that probably are watching your shorts. So how I look at my shorts is for my OGs, for my people that want to see my long form, I take the best of the best. I call it my greatest hits. So I'll take the things that I know they commented on the most, they love the most. I know in my analytics, they went back and watched it 6 times over. I'm like, there's 30 seconds, 45 seconds. Let's put that in a short. And they will watch it over and over again because they love it. They loved it the first time. So I knew it worked. And then it also told YouTube, told the machine that, well, people like this. Let's push it to a bigger audience, and that's how you gain momentum on some of these short form content videos. So that was strategic, actually.
So going to your OG and your like diehard community, you said that you started going very back to the beginning. You said, you started this out of a place of like kind of loneliness, like isolation. And, we all experience that, or a lot of us do in agriculture and rural communities. Do you feel like you found that community, created some community? Like, do you feel like I don't know, that your channel has ended up being kind of what you were hoping it would be?
Yes and no. So the shocker of it all is how wide of a net I casted. And I think when I first started, I was thinking it was going to be a peer group. It was going to be like sheep farmers helping other sheep farmers, and we'd figure this out. And if I showed them all the stuff I was doing wrong, people would tell me how to do it better. And I think, and it was more of a like, don't feel bad, I screw this up all the time kind of thing. And what happened was that was fine for a while, because what ended up happening is a lot of farmers were actually really quite mean. And I'm very sensitive, and I probably take things pretty hard. But what I found worked better was just to create these daily vlogs, just take the camera with me and catch these beautiful moments. So what it ended up doing was garnering such a wide array of people and demographics and nationalities, and it's been unreal. But in saying that, you're so widespread that it's, once again, I don't have a big peer group to turn to talk to about when stuff isn't going right, or I'm feeling really deflated or depleted. I don't have a peer group in this space. There's not a lot of women that YouTube, and more so, there's not a lot of women in agriculture that are YouTubing that I can really talk to about this stuff. So in that breath, very lonely, because as a sheep farmer, I have a huge network of peers I can turn to and say, I have screwed this up, what should I do? But in YouTube, I don't have that. So I would say as a creator, it's very lonely, if I'm perfectly honest.
You touched on some things that really that triggered me there, because I can relate to a lot of that. And I think especially the people not understanding in real life, like your real family not understanding what's going on behind the scenes, or when I've experienced activist attacks, it's felt like that, very isolating, that no one knew what was going on. So yeah, I'm glad you shared on that. So to change pace a tiny bit, you have a business now, you've hit like over 500K subscribers, but you obviously have another business running a farm. How do these go hand in hand? How does it fit with your actual, what you're doing, farming?
It's actually a beautiful fit, except for the time portion, because it is annoying when you're having a really bad day and you have to pick up the camera, because you have to share that bad day with a million other people, because that's what people want to see. They want to see you in the depths of despair, and they want to see how you pick yourself back up and you keep going. But oh my God, editing that stuff after a bad day is kind of torture. But I guess the thing about farming and filming, it is good, because without farming, I wouldn't have the YouTube channel. People are only watching my channel to watch the farming, which is amazing and beautiful. But at the end of the day, if you ask me what to pick, one or the other, it would always be farming. It would be 100% like being in the barn with my animals and my sheep. They've gotten me through a lot of dark days, because I do turn off the camera a lot and just hang and chill and regroup. But Yeah, it's been for the 90% of the time, it's been a great fit because I've been able to just, a lot of the stuff I still catch on my phone because I don't have my big camera just handy enough. And they're beautiful moments. And I'm so, so glad I have them because at the end of the day, now I guess I'm at the point where I really want to leave a legacy.
So let's talk about those moments for a second that you're talking about right now. What would you say is one of your most proudest moments of your channel or of something you've shared or what you've created? Looking back on Sandi from 2017 or 2016 Sandi to now, what are you most proud of?
I think I'm most proud of the human connectivity, the emails and the gifts and the cards and the outpouring of little like personal stories that I'm like, I'm not entirely sure they have told some of these things to their best friends. And they feel like they put in these letters or these messages, like, we feel like you're a safe place and that we can share these things with you, which is really beautiful. It can be very heavy as well because I'm not qualified. A, B, we all have our own personal traumas that we have gone through that we're still working our way through. So we're definitely not experts, but to know that through COVID and through these dark times, a lot of people have just said the lambing and the sheep have really got me through it. I'm like, same. And that feeling of relatability and connectiveness is the one thing I'm probably the most proud of, for sure.
So, one more question about Sandi in 2016 to Sandi now, but it's going to be a little bit different question. What does filming look like now? What is your process? Like, what's your biggest tip that you've learned over all these years and how to do better and things you've changed?
So the biggest tip I got, and I think I said this in a roundabout way earlier, is I learned this watching someone else, but they said film to edit. So I used to just put up my camera while I was doing a job, and oh my God, I have to go through 45 minutes to an hour of footage of me doing the same thing at the same angle. And I'm like, this is so your editing just takes that much longer. So now I take very short, deliberate, intentional clips. I change the angles. So I spend a lot of time moving the camera, but you get very fluid at, what would be a cool angle here? What would be this? What would be that? So that's what kind of filming looks like to me now. I'm also not afraid to pick up my camera or my phone and catch little moments of sheep doing stuff. And for that, you have to be very aware of your surroundings to catch that. And I think that's the difference between me, my channel, and someone scripting their stuff. A lot of my videos that do well, the ones that do really, really well, I'm so happy that the audience has really appreciated the little moments that I've been able to capture because, that's what makes the videos, and they're spontaneous and they're surprising, and that's why it's adventures of sheep farming, because I just never know what I'm going to be seeing in a day. And I want the audience to always have that, like, what is she going to show us today?
So going off that, the adventures of sheep farming and how we never know what's gonna, literally come that day or in our future. What's next for Sandi? What are you spending your time on right now? What are you most passionate about? Like, what does 2022 hold?
I am still so passionate about YouTube. And I'm still very, very driven by the analytics, about getting better at editing. And, I watch shows like Yellowstone, and what was I just watching? Like, I watch actual shows and I'm like, I want to see if I can work that into my videos somehow. So the whole editing process, I freaking love, as much as it's like a love hate. I love it, but I hate the time it takes. So I still very much am entrenched by that. The other thing I'm very, very passionate about now is this whole wool side, and just bringing attention to it, bringing awareness and collaborations, and being able to help other people in Ontario or in Canada be able to use our wool for something instead of whatever it's getting used for right now, which I have no idea what it is. And even beyond that, to create actual products and have fun with it and have fun with marketing. And it's funny, I was asked to kind of speak at a marketing, to talk about online marketing, and they kind of pushed me off of it because they were like, yeah, you don't really fit online marketing. And I'm like, are you freaking kidding me? Everything I do, I have to market. I have to market a thumbnail I have to market a title so my YouTube video will perform. I have to market myself every single day. I have to market, if I do launch something, I'm marketing for months before it actually comes out, just in my brain, trying to figure out creatively how to do it. So it's funny, like we don't fit in these little curated things. We don't have these stores online. So we're not a case study, and we don't match what people are looking for yet. And I find that part really frustrating, because once again, you feel very isolated and alone, because you're like, I am doing all these things, but guess what? I have no overhead. I have a camera and I have a computer, and I'm running a business. And it's, I don't have a lot of inventory, but it's hard for people that run these multi-million-dollar stores online to be able, for you to fit in there, I guess. And it's frustrating. So that's where I'm at right now, is a frustrated, but also very proud entrepreneur. I think I can call myself an entrepreneur, because we're doing this alone, kind of, and making it work.
Nowadays, you will find Sandi doing exactly what she was doing 5 years ago, building an online family through her very raw and real journey as an online sheep farmer. She said she vows to be more intentional with her channel and brand, while always staying curious and trying new things. More than anything, though, Sandi wants a living journal that she can one day leave her kids, and maybe grandkids, as a legacy of who she was, how she struggled, and how she kept going.
Thank you so much for listening to the show this week. If you loved today's episode, we would appreciate it if you would subscribe and if you left us a review. Let us know what you enjoyed, what your biggest takeaways were, and who you'd like to hear from next. If you're active online, we'd also love it if you took a screenshot and shared today's episodes to your social pages, encouraging friends and family to give it a listen too.
You can also find more about Elevate the podcast and our online course at our website, elevateyouragstory.com. And if you want to follow us on our personal pages, you can always find us on Instagram at Natalie Kavorik and at Tara Vanderdusen.
Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you next week.